was hoping just to hold a spoon. My spoon of terror. Need something to grip. Okay. All right, okay. Thanks ever so much for inviting me here. There's a mirror there. I'll just step out of the way of that. Let's get it in my face. Hello, everyone. Okay. Basically, I'm here, obviously, to talk about thinking and acting to change things in your world for the better. About 3 years ago, I set up what has become a social eating enterprise called The Secret Kitchen. Basically, in the area that I was living, there was nowhere to go for a cup of coffee. I didn't want to walk into town to get skanked for £4 for a cup of coffee. So basically, I set up my own thing in my own neighbourhood. I didn't really have any money, and I didn't have much equipment. I didn't have any investment. I borrowed £1,000 from my ex-boyfriend and set up, and he was the ex by that point. Certainly was afterwards. But yeah, I did pay it back. But yeah, I set up The Secret Kitchen, basically, which has turned out to be a social eating enterprise. And basically, I made a soup and a main and a pudding, and I just made food for my community, invited people to come and eat it, and then when it was gone, it was gone. And that actually turned out to be fantastically successful, and it really went down really well with people. Ostensibly, what I did is I just opened up my own way of doing things and invited my community to come and share that with me. So again, we were open just for meal times, and we were open actually in our own neighbourhood. A lot of the food I grew myself, or it was foraged, it was whatever I could find, whatever was cheap. So basically, I could give people a really good home-cooked meal, and like a family, ask them to come in and share that food with me. On top of that, I started doing social evenings because I realised there were people after work that might like to connect with this type of group. And then what happened is that started to work really, really well, and all the things that I'd been taught about setting up a food business, I really turned on their head and said that actually I don't think people always want lots of choice. What they want is something fresh that has been touched by a human hand, preferably a clean one, rather than a machine. And they want to sit and share food together, and actually that's something very natural and sort of intuitive to us, and that's something really important that we need to do. And from that, then this business model that I'd sort of developed, or sort of, I suppose, put out there again, started to take off, and again we started to stack social evenings on top of that, and then we started to do some events and other bits and pieces, and word started to get out about The Secret Kitchen, and people really took to this idea. Now, I just want to debunk one thing first of all, which is that I've been called a nostalgic chef. I don't know who's come up with that, but I wouldn't say that I'm nostalgic. I'm very much future-facing, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to be doing that in a moment. And I'm definitely not a chef. I've never been trained, just in case Gordon Ramsay pops up to try and get me in a headlock somewhere. So basically, I set up Secret Kitchen, and that was a fantastic social eating enterprise, which was really about getting people to sit and share food, and recognising that loads of fantastic stuff happens when people sit and share food together. Not only does it set a good example to children to see their parents and other people collaborating together, table manners, taking your plate up. When I need a hand, we can put the shout out, say we've got loads of washing up, can someone come and help? People just getting involved. And what I realised was several things really that have sort of led on to the next stage of the project, was that people were crying out for spaces to get involved. They don't want necessarily formal sort of like voluntary contracts or other things to do, but just be able to have somewhere you could just go and help with a bit of washing up or just do those bits and pieces was really important to people, and people really wanted to do that. So all these positive examples we were setting each other in this really informal setting were really, really powerful actually. And then what happened is that spoon of terror, I'm still gripping it, so I can see my arm going around like this, is that I noticed in my community something that I never ever thought I would see. Now, I grew up in the era when we had Feed the World, and I used to see those children on telly with their distended bellies, so hungry and tired that they couldn't even bat the flies off them, and asked my mother, why can't they come over here? We've got loads of food. And she said to me, because that's their home. And again, that must have really stopped with me at some level. And when that hunger, not in the same way, but hunger amidst massive amounts of food wastage in this country came into my community, I was devastated and really shocked to see dirty, hungry, thirsty, stressed out children in my community. So basically I realised that my model of working might actually be very helpful in tackling this problem. So I launched a sub-project underneath Super Kitchen called Family Cafe. Now, about a year ago, I was in front of these red letters talking about what I was going to do. It's immensely satisfying to be standing here today having finished that project on Friday. Now, what we did was we used our model of make one big pot of food, set up a mealtime, and then get people to come and eat it, and that worked fantastically well. But again, I used supermarket surplus because I realised there was horrendous amounts of food being thrown away in this country. So I teamed up with an absolutely amazing charity called FareShare. FareShare are out across the UK, and they go and collect supermarket surplus. The first time that pallet of surplus turned up at our cafe, I cried. And I cried because I realised that I had been completely ignorant, even in my knowledge, to the systematic waste that happens in our country that you lot will never see. It's not in the back of supermarkets in skips, it's structural, systematic waste, and it's created because of the dominant model that we have around food on this planet at the moment, which is that food, like everything else from TVs and fridges to people, are inherently disposable. And we need scarcity to stimulate consumption. And when you see the food turn up and you realise that it's a pallet of food that would have been thrown away, it's absolutely perfectly good. It's not going off, it's absolutely perfectly good, and it's just surplus. And this is structural, systematic, orchestrated waste that you and I will never see because it goes out in the back on trucks, and you know it's not something that we will see. Now I cried when I saw it because I realised how deep we were in trouble in our society. And I vowed that I was going to do something about it. So Family Cafe Project has been a literal amazing journey of growth for me, and it's been an amazing project to be involved in. What I've been humbled by is the huge capacity for people to want to get organised and get into something that is benefiting them and their community, and how that starts with shared food. So basically we use this fantastic charity called FareShare, and we collect they can bring this food basically once a fortnight. Now, your FareShare budget is £1,000 for a year. So on a basic workforce budget of £1,000 a year, we've had food for 6,000 meals, and we've saved 6 tonnes of food from landfill, and we were open 6 hours a week. Basically, that is incredibly powerful maths there, and it's incredibly powerful output. And the reason why it works is the simple model that I've developed, which is that you use what you've got, you cook it in a big pan, you have open at meal time, and you get people to come and sit and share it. And believe me, all sorts of magical things happen when we do that. So on the back of Family Cafe and the fantastic success that has been, I'm launching another project. So again, it's just great timing to be here today. I've gone from secret to super. So my next project is super. And again, this is very personally sort of indicative for me that I'm ready to talk about the new project I'm launching called Super Kitchen. Now, Super Kitchen is basically taking all the things that we've learned and putting them into one big mega pan, and then we're going to be dishing that out to the county and beyond. So Super Kitchen is saying that the dominant model that most food businesses use in this country at the moment is a static, high-choice menu, which is expensive and it's wasteful, and then you have to shout things like, yes, chef. Yeah, I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to sit frying eggs all day either. I want to make food for my community. And this is a great way to do it, the Super Kitchen model, is that we can use supermarket surplus, or again, you can look around in your communities and see what food is there. You can use gluts and seasonal food. And basically you move from a static, high-choice menu to a dynamic menu, where basically you're doing what we should be doing in community cafes and spaces and in food businesses, which is feeding people fresh, homemade, nourishing food that people actually want to eat because they can tell that someone's cooked it. It might be you that's been involved in it, in a space where they are welcome, where they can get involved and they can be active. And so if you want to know how to save the planet, one of the things you can do is eat. And you can eat in the way that I'm promoting through the Super Kitchen model. So I'm going to be going out and I'm going to be promoting this model and saying it's so simple, the infrastructure is already there. It's not anything complicated, it's something that everybody can get involved in. And where are our hangout spaces? Where are the spaces where we can congregate? The previous speakers have said all sorts of fantastic stuff about people wanting to connect in communities to do good. But the point I want to make is that if there aren't physical spaces, where does that happen? Where does this local action actually happen? We need physical spaces, and we need to get up and we need to be active, and we need to reinvigorate and repopulate community spaces. So I'm working with churches, with community centres, with all sorts of stuff basically, and say my model is so simple. If you have an existing food business, you can switch over to the Super Kitchen model. Or if you want to start up something like a social evening or an elders luncheon club or a mothers and babies group, you can use our model and become a Super Kitchen. So everyone can get involved in this, and it's really easy. What I'm also doing is basically forging the power vector with basically FareShare in Leicester. We're going to be partnership working. They've basically got the food, they've got the power, and they are operating at about 10% of capacity of what they could get. Literally, let's pull back the veil, because when you see the food that you will get for your Fair Share deliveries, it will change your life, because you will realise that the way that we've been doing food is scarily unsustainable. And also a lot of the food we get isn't even that great anyway. So let's actually get people cooking and doing some good food. We're also teaming up with another charity that works across the country called Food Share. So Fair Share, Food Share, and then the delivery partner is Super Kitchen. Food Share is agricultural philanthropy for children. Now this is like a marketing wet dream when us lot get together. Children with polytunnels growing courgettes, and then they're going to be giving them to us. They've got a totalizer that they can weigh their produce with, and it types it in. It will price match it against all the organic produce in supermarkets so they can track what they're using. We've got all sorts of exciting things happening to do with compost and vermiculation and coffee grinds and loads of exciting stuff. But together, these three groups with Fair Share, all the fantastic produce. We've got Food Share, which again, it's all the stuff like bagged salads, which are hugely wasteful, which actually we need grown locally. And also you want those kids doing it, because then they're going to come down to the super kitchens and eat what they've been growing. So basically, we are the delivery partner. Super Kitchen is the delivery model. And really, in some ways, it's a mind change. It's getting people to realise that they were doing something one way, probably not realising the damage it was doing, and they could be doing something much better. So people want to get behind this. Is when you see our sign, which is here, fantastic logo, which subject of much debate about whether the handle should be just slightly left. Don't ever put your logo out on Twitter, yeah? You'll never hear the end here. But yeah, this is what we're doing, is this Super Kitchen. So again, I want to sort of say to you that when you're thinking about global stuff, when you're looking to act locally, there's something even more important that's the hyper-local, is feed yourselves. Feed yourselves, be nourished yourselves, and then you are available to participate fully and wholly in community projects. Many of us are starving hungry for nourishment, for proper nourishment, and that is the nourishment of human connection and good food. So get behind Super Kitchen. Thank you.